maybe we'll have time for that. We can talk about the workshops, how it's going on. We can talk about RC2. We can talk about templates, content items. If we haven't done that last week, we can talk about shortcodes because we haven't talked about it. Or and any other topic? Any other demo?
I've probably got a demo.
Ooh. Sanitization?
No, but we could look at sanitization.
Something else than sanitization.
Filters of the contents list. So taxonomy filters and culture filters.
Interesting. You're too quick. You do too many things.
Oh, well, I needed to fix this to fix another PR, so I'll get on to that one.
And I was actually hoping that Sipke would come and show custom routes. How do you call that? Routable.
Dynamic routing?
Dynamic routing. It's a weird name. Everything is dynamic, so let's call it routable content item. Okay, so let's start with some status from last week. I think it won't take that long. Orchard 1 since last week. Memorize core results in blog service. So just perf commits from Matteo and Hermes. Again, same, fixing all the perf issues with Orchard 1. Here is just caching the list of blogs. During a request, apparently the same list of blogs will be queried multiple times in the same request, so now it's caching it for the duration of the request. Prevent losing content ID when model has errors, so apparently this property will be lost in a controller when some validation will be wrong, so we fixed it. Dev branch, nolock subqueries. Honestly, you don't want to look at the code changes, so I won't scroll. It's trying to fix the nolock query writing logic that we have by also handling the subqueries, which was not done before, and it's doing it with regular expressions. It's working. It's on the dev branch. They're using it extensively, so we can trust them, but I don't like the code, so I don't want to look at the code. It's not that I don't like it. That's a solution. That's kind of dirty, and that's why I don't want to look at what's dirty. I feel saner this way. So let's not look at it. Otherwise, we could do nightmares or things like this. And let's trust Matteo. That's it for Orchard 1. Orchard Core. I updated it. And apparently, today, Antoine pushed one change and not 10 just before the meeting, like he used to do last week. So last week, since last week, the 12, was it there? Yeah, probably the 12. Added support for section, but I assume there is a revert. So I assume that we'll start the meeting there. This is where we stopped last week. We stopped here actually because while we were talking about stuff, Antoine was pushing stuff. So my get typo. Okay, revert this PR, we talked about it. Upgrade MKDocs to a new version. Adding contributor, updating contributor. Update netcore to 3.1.4, new version of the runtime and ASP.NET, apparently security fix. This SDK was already there, but we had not updated to this one. Mark publish later with PrivateAssets, so apparently Dean fixed a project reference. Yeah, it's clear that we have a command that says please add it here. That's okay. Need a tilde if under literal folder. So Chantry confirmed that it is necessary, and his explanation about why it's necessary doesn't convince me at all, but well, it's necessary because otherwise it doesn't work. That's a good reason. That's a good reason. Why it doesn't work without it is confusing, however, because that means that in a multi-tenant scenario with prefixes, we can't cache the static assets from modules globally for all the tenants because they will all have different URLs, which I think was working before. I remember doing modular demos where the assets from the static files from modules would all be queried under the same URL and not per tenant, unless I'm wrong and that doesn't add the tenant prefix, but I think it does, so maybe I'm wrong. I have to check that. Fixes workflow Singleton. I think it's related to background tasks that two singletons could be run in parallel, and that's a fix for that. It's a huge fix, meaning lots of code. Okay, little refactoring and cleanup. Timer activity, timer waiting activity in any workflow, fixing some workflow. He worked a lot on workflow. Timeout deferred tasks. Okay, we'll trust him on this one. Fixes SQL query. If is always correlated. That's the workflow, okay? So there was an issue with that query. Is that a bug in SQL that okay, is always okay. Wrong query apparently. Good. mkdocs new version. So, which means it should be beautiful. I'm sure nobody will see the differences, but Antoine will see them. So at least we have that.
We could have a dark theme if you want.
On the documentation?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. We don't even have an admin dark theme, so what's the point? This is dark. Visual Studio. Okay, when I took a screenshot, I had Visual Studio in dark theme. Okay. Yeah, okay, so there must be some changes, I'm sure. And everything is still beautiful, so we are all happy with it. Love it. It's beautiful. We have a dark theme, and you see when Jasmine does the guides, everything is in dark because he's the only one with a dark theme. It's cheating. That's good. Wow, beautiful. Looks like it. It's nicer than before. Like it. Did you make this logo? Well, it's a font or some icon, but
yeah.
But you made the link to. Wow, you made the footer. Beautiful. Good job. All the details. Like it. Okay. all the updates are done 15 minutes. It's too beautiful. No subcode today. Oh, what next? Let's start with what you want to talk about. Content filters, impresses. Please.
Do you want to move on to something else and give us 10 minutes or so? I'm just shifting branches and bits and pieces.
Okay, what branches are you on? Citation? That's okay. We can
I
talk.
wasn't, now I'm not there.
Don't worry. Focus. Topics, workshops, update. There was a workshop on Saturday. I saw the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Did it go
Okay.
well?
Yeah. Do you want me to update Sebastian? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. Hello, everybody. The workshop last Saturday by Anton was very successful. There were a lot of folks. There were 7 responses for the feedback. All of them were very positive. So it was a very good workshop. In fact, it's overbooked. There's another one that Anton will make again, I think in June. So we haven't set the date yet. But for that, it was really good. It was well done. Now for workshops 3 and 4, Gabor and I will be talking, I think, within the week so that we can set the dates for those for workshops 3 and 4, and then we'll have a finalized schedule, hopefully by the end of the week or early next week. That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you. And I assume the next workshop will be even better than the first one because you get a lot of feedback. And but did you talk, Antoine?
No, I was about to talk, but
good. That's good. So we can even reuse it.
It went well. Yeah.
Awesome.
And
Are you happy?
Good feedback.
Good. So the next one, if I go back here, the next scheduled one. No, there is no. Yeah, that's what you said. To be couple. So what was I saying? Topics, workshop, RC2. Where are we? We haven't merged the main thing we want to merge, which is HTML sanitization. We'll have a word about that. I won't say anything. If Dean doesn't, only if Dean wants me to talk about it, we'll talk about it. But pull request, issues, milestones, RC2. Nothing new has been added to RC2. Validation, prevent customs. So that's the only thing that we want to fix before shipping RC2. And I think it's ready. I saw Dean's PR. We talked about it again on Friday. New SDK. He reacted to the comments very quickly. So I assume that if I go there and I search for PR, I can't find it. Why? That's weird. So pull request.
It's there in the link pull request field.
Where?
Back on the issue.
16. Go back.
Link pull requests on the right there.
Oh, the new feature. Yes, there is a new feature. Thank you. I never use it. Beautiful. I was like, I didn't see anything. Interesting. Okay, so new features that Antoine started and Dean took over. And the latest commits, let me see if there were new ones I didn't see. I saw the comments from Antoine. Client side doesn't, client side, it's just helping, but it won't solve the main issue. So, no, actually, I saw that comment. No, that's really entity escaping and not escape HTML. Because with Markdown, you can say to remove or to escape. Yeah, it's to remove the entities, the HTML entities that the user will type. And it's not about escaping the HTML. I think it's different.
Yeah, that's probably worth mentioning, actually, that when this PR goes in, the default behavior for the markdown part and field will change. So at the moment, if you type HTML in, it will render the HTML. But what will happen now is that will be entity escaped or converted into text, essentially. By default, it is adaptable and configurable to disable that.
Yeah, so that would be nice. Some renamings also, like this. It's not called allow custom scripts anymore. It's called sanitize. And this is the opposite logic, but that's the same effect. Something that is important also is that you will still be able to put liquid in the markdown and HTML fields parts, but it's an option for new setups that will be disallowed. And every new media will use this tag inside, which is, let's call it a shortcode. And the media tag will have also a /media, like it's like HTML, okay? It's and inside will be the URL of the media you want to render. And we'll talk about it also. Yeah, so that's the only PR to merge to be able to ship RC2. Should we merge it now? I think it's ready, right? Oh, minus the typo. Okay, let's fill typo. And
yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I just wanted to sit with it a couple of days to think over anything, but I'm happy to.
No, I think we need to merge and let people test it before we can ship it. It's, and we talked about it during a meeting. There might be some migration issues. There should not be any, but we'll see. If you see your media disappearing.
Yeah, so I've implemented migrations so that any existing content definitions will not use the new feature. But of course, you can set it if you want to turn it on. But any new content definitions will.
So I imagine it. Some typos are valid. Antoine, please feel free to fix them if you want on different commit. That would be okay. Fixing. Boom. So that is
cool.
done.
Shall we, while we're at it, shall we merge RC2?
No, we want someone to to test the dev branch before, because we need to merge dev2, the RC2, and then ship RC2. So let's give it a few days for people to react and file issues. And on Tuesday, we can decide to merge dev branch to RC2. And then we can ship from between Thursday and next Tuesday. So we can have last talks about next Tuesday and then ship it. Nothing is blocking now. We can go. So that is done. Then, so are you ready?
Yeah, I can do that now. Let's have a look at that.
Please.
Let me know when you've got a screen coming through there. Yeah, can everybody see a screen there?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So there was a feature request a while ago, and looking to be able to filter the admin menu with taxonomy trees, and I've kind of been working on bits and pieces here for a little while, but it's just come together a little bit because I needed to create some zones on this general contents list.
Can you zoom a little bit, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just the Control+ option for Chrome might be
Yeah,
just
it's
sufficient.
because I'm on a Mac and my keyboard gets confused between the two. There we go. How's that? So what I've done is I've broken the header section of the contents listing in the admin menu here into zones, so that different features or different modules can apply filters to the content listing here. So the first one I've just implemented is a culture feature, so that you can now filter by localized content. And I think I did a few in EN/US as well, and probably a few in Maori. So you can apply that. And then I've made it extensible so that you can also apply taxonomy filtering. So if we were to just reset this back to all cultures, and this is just the standard blog recipe with a few alterations, we can now choose to filter by all the categories that are in a taxonomy. I can't remember if I assigned any to no, I didn't. Or we can pick another taxonomy and we can filter by all the tags. We do have to clear this one first. So you can just, yeah, essentially increase your filtering. And there was a couple of other features. I actually came across some unused code that was potentially being or could be used for filtering, which was there for lists. So there was a bit of a code in the system which allows you to just list all of the list types. And I've also been able to use that just to list all the localized content as well. So you can just add these into custom admin menus with particular query strings on there, and you get different features. And of course, you can implement your own, which is the more useful thing. So that was pretty much the demo.
And it's great.
That's what we're doing.
It's a great feature. We talked about it for a long time. There was a PR that came a few weeks ago that tried to do something like this, but in the wrong way. Something also like here you have drop downs because that's the most common thing, but the search and every module is adding their own stuff there. That's how extensible it is. There is a zone and you just have to intercept the shape of this page and then inject any shape in any zone you want. In this case, the filter zone or the header zone. And what's the top left one?
So there's I've done 4 zones. There's a summary zone here, so you can put things into this one. There's a action zone over on this side, and this will also switch right to left as well. Then there's a search zone here and a create zone.
But the search box here is new, right? You made it as part of this PR.
No, the search box is from Antoine's one a while ago when he redid it.
And what does it use?
So it just uses the display text at the moment.
For the I see, display text, but with SQL, so it's using this. It's using also still the same extensibility of the.
Yeah.
Of the Chrome.
So what I've also done is made it so that the filters that you can implement yourselves can actually alter the query and alter the value of the options coming in. So what would be the nice thing to do next is to take it more in a GitHub kind of search thing, and when you select, say, a content type, to actually reflect that value up here and have, say,
yeah, why not?
That would be the next thing, so that you can actually build up queries and
an indirection from the route to the text and reflect the UI. But it's the same model, different views. And what is the filters drop down on the left?
The filters drop down at the moment just shows this. But because this section here is now a shape, you can potentially override that and add more filters, change the filters that you want. Yeah, what we provide is a good set of defaults, and people will have their own requirements because they've built up their own
that's good
design of the site. But for me, this sorts out the taxonomy tree that I've been kind of wanting for a little while, because you can just start to do it here rather than over on this side tree.
Makes sense.
And I get my zones, which I needed for another PR, just to finish that off.
How were these taxonomies added automatically, or did you have to set up something?
So the taxonomies are part of the blog thing, the ones we're seeing here. But for the taxonomy feature, I've actually made it a feature with a setting, so you can choose which ones you want. Because sometimes you may have 10 taxonomies and you don't want them all to show up. So you just pick the ones that are appropriate. And then we've only got the tags one. The cultures, obviously, that just happens, all automatically. It's not a feature. There didn't seem a need for that to be something you turned on and off. But you could also potentially, if you didn't want the culture one, or if you wanted to implement your own one, you could remove the shapes. Same with this content type shape, you could very easily just remove that replacement.
Or maybe a feature or setting so we can remove it. Can you collapse the window, like make it small to see how it behaves on the mobile?
Yeah, so I was going to actually change this to kind of be a bit more in line with the GitHub, because at the moment it just drops down like that, which is okay. What GitHub tend to do is it starts to go off over here. As you drop down to mobile, this section will hide, then this section will hide, and then this section will hide. So the important ones stay visible and the other ones just disappear. Because when you're on mobile, this is it's a useful piece of information, but it's not as useful.
Or worst case, have two sections, one that shows for the mobile and one that shows for the desktop. Even if it's duplicating some HTML, at least they will switch based on the breakpoint to more mobile-friendly tagging. If you want, if we don't want to try to have a single set of tags and that adapts for everything, we can say, okay, under that breakpoint.
Because you can inject your own, it's hard to design it exactly. So yeah, dead right. Just drop a different one. I mean, we could lose the summary, and these could stack very easily.
Yes.
As an option, but I was looking at how which issue does it remember? I don't even remember that issue. So when we look at GitHub here, they just start to drop them off, like we produce them completely as you go down. So the milestones go and the projects go.
Okay.
But I kind of lean towards, two shapes, one for mobile and one for desktop, and the
two
mobile
shapes,
one.
In the same shape, you can have two sets of tags with breakpoints.
Sorry, that's what I mean. Yeah, in the shape, 2 bits of HTML, one just changes.
If that's simpler to handle that instead of being all automatic. Okay, good. That's perfect. That's very nice. We wanted that for a long time. Oh my God, so many beautiful things. I didn't check the chat, but nobody cares apparently. It's like, yeah, good. That's a huge deal actually, because even if people say they can't do anything, it's not valid for them, I'm like, just write a module and do do the ones you want and remove the ones you don't want to see because there are features or because you can just, yeah, if we had a guide to show how to do that, we could just then go there.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a simple thing, you know, there's a couple of methods.
Yeah, we'll need some documentation to at least explain the filters and where to inject stuff. That's it, at least.
Yeah.
It felt slow on your demo.
Oh, that's just because my machine is, I'm trying to install updates at the moment as well.
To be clear about what's happening is that building the query itself should be quick because it's just manipulating the object model with 10 filters to add to the query. It's just a service that is called and every provider can inject something on the SQL query or the yes SQL query on which has a content item index. And every filter can add their own with predicate to join a different table, a different index. So every module that has an index to query stuff can add something to the query. So in the end, you have as many joins as you have filters applied. If you have no filters applied, you should just have one join for the versions maybe, or the culture or whatever. But if you have no filter applied, there should be no join. And as you add filters, there will be one more join to a different table, which is supposed to be indexed in SQL because it's an index table. So you are supposed to index these fields because they are meant to be queried. So in theory, it should be very fast. And you can't have a simpler query than that. We need to check with lots of content items, but that in theory, it should be super fast. Worst case also, then we can switch to a feature that will be provided by the Lucene module that will add a search box based on the Lucene module and probably handling a query like you showed for GitHub, but based on all the index. So it will use Lucene to do some search. So you might be able also in the Lucene search box to add something like category colon something and culture colon something, just to do that with a text box and Lucene instead of using drop downs and SQL in case we need that. It might replace that box actually. The feature will be interesting for the feature to just remove that shape and put its own Lucene based one there.
And that probably should work. Look, the shapes are removable. The query would just need a little bit of tweaking to abstract it, and you would just swap it in. I mean, there is the option to replace this box and also to put another box beside it, potentially with some fields that you want to search, or you can kind of do anything now.
Yeah, if we want to still be based on SQL, then the solution will be to have a first request in Lucene that returns the content item IDs, and then the SQL is just in on the IDs with the content item IDs from SQL, from Lucene. And this way it's still a SQL query, but very limited because it's just loading by ID. And we don't have to abstract the kind of query to run. So that might be easier.
Yeah, and the Lucene bit will probably need a little step further with abstraction, but nah, it's no problem.
Okay, it's perfect. Thank you. Beautiful. Very, very powerful feature. So I will share again. So we talked about content filters, we talked about sanitization, we won't talk about dynamic routing, but Sipke seemed to be interested, and Jean-Thierry explained how to design that. Workshop template, did we talk about templates content items last week?
We never did, we talked about it, I think, on Thursday.
Okay, so the idea of templates content items, if anyone feels super inspired by that, is almost like we had in Orchard 1 with the layout templates, where you could define a layout page and save it as a template to start new pages out of this template. The idea would be to make it for any content item that you could store as a template, and then create items that are just clones of that. Example is that you create different kinds of articles, or let's say in GitHub there are bug templates. So when you create a new bug, you can create a blank bug or blank issue and then have templates for different types of issues. So if I go to try to create a new issue, here it will tell me, hey, what kind of issue do you want to create? This kind, this kind, this kind, this kind, or this kind. Okay, these are issue templates. So the idea will be with content items to create any content items you want and then save them as template. The same way today you have a publish, save as draft, you can say save as template. And then it will be a content item of a specific type that might appear in a menu somewhere or might appear in the new button when you create new something. And when we create the new of this thing, then it will just clone it and you start with a new content item that is based on that. Okay. So if you have like articles of with a specific background or specific text inside you want to reuse, or I don't know, you can do that. Same thing for a page with a page. When I say a page, I mean if you take the recipes we have, the page content type is based on flow part. So if you have some pages that already have widgets in their flow parts with sections, with examples or whatever, then you can do the same thing. And then people, instead of trying to figure out what parts to add in the flow part to mimic an existing page, they can just, no, that's okay. I can just start with this template and then change the parts they want. And that's, I think that would be super powerful. Technically, super easy because just a content item. It should be in a state probably like draft and not published, so that it doesn't render on the back end. So it might be something that we enforce, that if a specific metadata that says it's a template is present, we can't publish it, for instance. Maybe that's a requirement. And or we could also just store it somewhere else as it's not a content item. We store the document somewhere as a template in a templates table, or content templates table. And when we click new, we list all these ones, and that might be even better. And then we can just clone this object and make it a content item and just edit it. So technically it's super easy to do, just integrating nicely in the UI. So we have a list of them, or we could integrate in the new buttons, so we show that. Or maybe when we create a new, I don't know, I just something that might be super useful for content editors.
Oh, the new button's now a zone, so you can inject anything you want on there.
The content inside the new is a zone, or the new button?
The content inside it.
Exactly, that's perfect. Exactly what you need then. So that, and yeah, like e-commerce, you have different types of products. You click new and different types of product, and okay, this kind of product which has different properties. And it doesn't have to be a content type. It can be the same content item, but predefined fields or predefined stuff. So that's it for the reflection we had. This idea of doing that. I don't remember how we came to that idea. Another thing we talked about on Friday, we didn't talk about that during triage. We didn't have time. We talked about sanitization. So in sanitization, if I go back to the video, now we close the PR. So, close the PR. I'm lost. Where is the PR? Pull request closed. So what this PR added is a way to inject some predefined HTML snippets, like a media snippet, on anything that wants to inject them. So today, when we render an HTML body part, we will optionally evaluate it as liquid template. We will also call what is called filters. Is it called filter or sanitization something now? It's not called
safe code. So not shortcode. Shortcode.
So after discussion, it was called filter, but we decided to call it shortcodes. Okay, and so the idea is that there is a service in a different project that will let you evaluate some HTML blobs and replace shortcodes. We had that in Orchard 1 in the notion of filter. We had some BB code, and this is how the media was done. And we also had a feature called token in Orchard 1. And this shortcode is actually looking much more like tokens in Orchard 1, but with a difference. So the idea of that thing is that you have a shortcode service. There should be two services, but right now there is just a shortcode service. There will be another one later. And this service can find the CS file. Okay, this service has process async. It takes an input and returns you a string. So it takes some HTML, processes, replaces all the shortcodes, and returns you that thing. And there is, the implementation is looking for shortcode providers. How did we call it?
I think I just call them shortcode. So they're an I shortcode.
Is there a media shortcode?
Yeah.
There is a media shortcode. So an implementation of I shortcode is that, so when you call process async, it will look for everything that has media and /media, and then take whatever is inside, ensure it's a valid URL. It will also sanitize the output of this thing just in case it will contain some ref to a JavaScript or you build JavaScript with that. So it's safe. It's more than just HTML encoded. It's sanitized. We remove anything that could look like a script, and it returns the result. Okay, that's a shortcode. That's how it's done. Okay, that's actually lighter than liquid and easier to read if you don't need liquid. We use liquid because we had that, but now that's more like a shortcode than liquid. You can still use liquid if you enable the option. So the idea would be to have more than that. Not only have more than that, but you can already do that now with this PR. You can inject, you can create more shortcodes. Like one example would be could be a read more. Like you would just render a link, read more, that will link to from a summary to the full blog post. Okay. And I think that's one we have in Orchard 1 already. Or let's see some. Okay, why is it called shortcode? Because WordPress calls it shortcodes, and that's exactly the syntax that WordPress uses. So very good example. Actually, the example I saw, the idea that triggered the shortcode ID is, let's. It's not Strava, it's static. Static static.dev, static.dev. I think that's the website. So this is a Razor-based static site generator. We had a demo a few months ago about that. And if I look at the documentation, yeah, there are two sites for documentation, not this one. There is another one.
I think it's the web one or the framework one.
So where should I click? Oh crap.
Go back to the website, and then up in the top menu, it's got web and framework.
Framework. Okay.
I think it's framework because we looked at this, didn't we?
Shortcodes.
Yeah, shortcodes. Yeah.
Okay, they call also it shortcodes, and the syntax they use is like a tag, and there is a reason for that. I talked to Dave yesterday. There is a reason. It's like a tag, but shortcode name. But what convinced me that we need that is when I saw an example, which was, I can't find, where is the example? A link to documents execution. they don't list all the shortcodes. Well, there was a shortcode called Twitter. And the idea will be like you type Twitter and the tweet ID, and it will generate the nice embedded HTML of the tweet. Okay, that's something that when you blog you want to do. Oh, let's embed this tweet here, and you could just try to ask Twitter to give you the full HTML or whatever. But no, you can just say, okay, Twitter with this tweet, or YouTube and this YouTube URL, or whatever. Okay, so short codes to replace some, to inject some specific HTML that is safe, or at least validated, you know what it will inject. And so that's one way to see that. And another interesting option that we have with it is, like in Orchard One with tokens, we can list these shortcodes because they are well known. They are replaced by a shortcode implementation. But later we can have a service called shortcode definition that will let you describe the shortcodes that you can support with the name, the properties, and the description, almost like we have in Orchard One, where whenever something is tokenizable, there is a little pop-up button that you can use to list all the tokens that are available, and that will be very useful. But what could also be done that is better than in Orchard One is that in Orchard One, a token was code-based, and there was a weird way. It was a powerful way to chain them. So you could just have a token and return a user, and then from the user you could say, give me, I don't know, his email, and so on. But that we fixed in OrchardCore with Liquid to provide a very good flexibility to write anything, but not with the limitation of token. But at the same time, so token is what is like in the middle of shortcodes and Liquid. It's not powerful enough, but it's more powerful than shortcodes. But it's hard to understand. So shortcodes would be super easy to use, and you can't chain them. You can use them recursively, like you could use maybe a B shortcode to put something in bold inside a media shortcode. I don't know, something like that. But that's it. They are individually functional. They don't work together like tokens will do. And something that can be done then is we can make shortcodes dynamically or from the admin, meaning we could create a feature like we do with templates where you can create your own shortcodes or change a shortcode, which we could not do with tokens. You could not change the way, I don't know, token user behaves or what it generated. But now with this logic, we could have in the admin first list all the shortcodes that are available, and also add new custom shortcodes. Like you could add a Twitter shortcode by yourself that its template will be in Liquid. So you could actually define in Liquid what the shortcode Twitter would do, and then your users, they don't have to do Liquid. They can just list, oh, there is a Twitter shortcode, and it takes one parameter, and it is that, and it does that, so let me use that. And it will be much easier for users to use shortcodes than to write Liquid. And for devs to write their own shortcodes that are then exportable and importable. So you could reuse them, or we could provide them as add-ons, like you could download a JSON file containing nice shortcodes to add to your site. So I think, so that's how it's implemented with iShortcode in this PR. And I think we can build on that to provide a shortcodes feature that will be used when Liquid is too much, but we want to inject simple, like typically in HTML editors, like Trumboweed or Markdown. So we can inject very specific things, HTML snippets. So that's the idea of shortcodes. And if you want to see good examples, do they have good examples here? Just look at WordPress shortcodes. And
did you post something nice on the issue that had some good images of?
Where you say on chat or what?
No, on the issue that you made an issue.
Oh, I made an issue. Ah, stupid. Forgot about it. Yeah, because when I was looking at, will it make sense? We talked about it on Friday with Dean. I'm like, okay, let's write it down before I forget. And I forgot about that. What's the point? Is open. So I explained the whys and what, and talk about also tokens. And then I pasted some links to a UI in WordPress where you can see all the shortcodes. Okay. YouTube, Twitter, whatever, simple things. And they can be also based on your website, like let's inject a carousel. They could do queries also. Let's inject the blog post widget, like the blog post archive list or the last 5 blog posts. Let's inject that there. We could also have a widget that will list all the shortcodes and just use them directly. And be easier to use than just typing a shortcode in the text box. Make it more obvious.
Yeah, I think it'll be quite useful for being able to define custom styles and identify custom styles like in HTML editors, so that you can say that this bit of text is a brand style or something along those lines. So if it would become something that we can edit in the admin, it'll have a lot of power just for just little bits of markup.
Twitter timeline, full instructions. And then example, these are very nice, you see. So they have a UI, I don't know why, that's interesting. So maybe because of how the shortcodes can be described by this custom service, there is a way to build custom UI, but that goes too far from a shortcode, I think, because that's almost what we are doing dynamically with content types, with widgets and everything. But yeah, that's the kind of things that shortcodes can do. And that will be easy for editors to inject them rather than typing liquid, and also safer. Also, the nice thing with that is we don't provide liquid, so they can't break anything. Or no, it's like managed snippets. And if you don't like it, it's a feature. Don't create shortcodes. Don't edit them. Don't provide them. So that's the idea. If anyone wants to work on that, that would be a good addition. Feedback, questions, comments? Don't do that. Yes, do it. Don't care.
No, I like it. I think it'll add a lot to for our content editors and add a lot of flexibility that you can't quite get with the WYSIWYG editor at the moment.
It's faster to process than liquid also. I'm not removing liquid. Liquid is super useful for many contexts. But sometimes we will have to choose whether it's better to provide liquid directly for more advanced features, or we just want content editors to inject stuff. So let's give them shortcodes instead. And that's called the same way. Just call shortcode service and you say process, like evaluate all the shortcodes. And there is no limit to whatever we can provide. And it can be done in the admin to add any new one, so much easier to maintain them, to enhance them. Okay,
yeah, if we can have a nice little pop-up where you can list them all as well and select the one you want, just makes life easy for everybody,
Big improvement compared to liquid. All the topics covered, beautiful. We didn't talk about that.
Next week, I will do a demo.
Next week, yeah. We have nothing else to do next week. I hope you won't have the idea. Okay, good. Questions, comments? Nothing? Everyone's happy? Okay, all good. Then let's meet again on Thursday at 10 a.m. That's when the triage is now. And next week on Tuesday, which is not holiday. No, the Monday is President's Day or something like that, or Memorial Day. I don't remember. Memorial Day, I think. So that's okay. So Tuesday is good. Okay, all good. See you next week. Thanks, everyone.